Hello, welcome back to my channel. Let's get started on another weekly reading vlog. Today is Sunday, June 5th, and it is 11:11 right now actually, so I don't think you guys can make a wish when it's not that time for you. I am planning on having a mostly chill day today. I've had a pretty busy weekend, and so I really just need to take a day to relax and not be stressing about things. But I do have a few things I need to get done. Mostly I need to do my laundry and fold it, and then I probably need to throw my sheets in the wash and make my bed. And then other than that, the rest of my day is going to be reading, maybe doing some video editing. I am actively reading 2 books, but on Goodreads it says that I am currently reading 4. So the 2 that I am actively reading right now we can talk about. The first one being my audiobook, which is When Villains Rise by Rebecca Schaeffer, and it's the 3rd in a series. It's called like The Monster Market or Market of Monsters or something like that, and it also does have a webtoon online, which I totally want to read at some point. Just I'm waiting to finish up the series through audio first, and I'm loving it. I don't exactly remember what I rated book 1 and 2, but it was definitely a 4.5 or higher. I just don't think I rated either of them exactly 5 stars. I'm 30 or 40% through it right now, and I'm hoping to finish it up by tomorrow. Just kind of make my way through it today and just enjoy myself. I don't want to talk about what this specific one is about, but this is the series overall, a dystopian society very similar to our own, except monsters exist. Any type of mythological creature that you could think of, like unicorns or kelpies or anything, exist in this world, but they are humanoid. Our main character doesn't really know what she is, but she has the ability to heal from basically anything. And so does her mother, and her mom works collecting body parts and kidnapping these mythological creatures and selling them on the black market, and our main character dissects them for her mother. And the story starts out where she's doing this. She loves her job, but she doesn't totally love her mother and doesn't totally love why they're doing it, and is hoping to one day go off to college and study biology and make something of herself. And then something goes wrong and she ends up in the marketplace. I really, really love this series. It feels so international. It's very much not America-centric, and it has so many diverse characters and so many diverse places that we get to see. In fact, the one that I'm currently reading takes place in both Canada and Buenos Aires. We're not even really in the States ever in these books, which is just kind of refreshing, to be honest. I also really love how morally gray all of our characters are. They do what they need to do, they take care of themselves and maybe the one other person that they care about, and they're perfectly fine with killing and murdering and torturing people if it means that they're going to be safe in the end. So it's just like a breath of fresh air, and it is a YA series, so it's nice. It's an easy book to read. It reminds me very much so of dystopian YA books I would have read in the early 2000s, but it feels so much more substantial and so much more real to me. And I'm really glad that I finally was able to pick up this 3rd book and start it and read it. Now, the other book that I'm currently reading, I'm reading on my Kindle, and I am exactly 50% through. It is The Final Strife. I have the ARC, and I believe this comes out June 22nd. And I'm also loving this, and this is also kind of difficult to talk about. From what I've been able to gather, it is a standalone fantasy. It is a Black-owned voices fantasy, and it takes place in an African-inspired fantasy setting. Now, last week I was a little bit confused on some of the details of the world building, and I think I got some information slightly wrong. But basically in the society there are 3 factions. The Embers, who have red blood, rule the world and are the leaders of everything. And then there are Dusters, who have blue blood, and they are basically a servant class. They are a poor class. They aren't really taken care of that well, but they also are there to serve. And then there are the Ghostings, who are basically slaves. And every time a Ghosting is born, they have clear blood, and every time they are born, their tongue and hands are removed and they are forced into slavery for the Embers. About 20 years before our story started, the rebel organization of the Dusters, who have tried to rebel in the past and have failed, decided to swap 12 babies from Duster families and Ember leader families and raise them as their own, training them so that one day they could enter into this trial competition and become the new wardens of the land. There are 4 wardens who rule the land. And so they wanted their children who are Ember blood, so they would be able to run, but are Duster raised, so they call them Duster hearts, and have them come up and rule in the society and feel for the Dusters and relieve them of this guilt and pressure that society has put onto them. So we are following our main character named Sela, I believe is how her name is pronounced, and she has been going through a lot in her life. She's basically gone through the ringer. So she is one of the Ember-blooded children that is raised by a Duster. And she, the day that the trial signups happen, when she was supposed to go and sign up for the trials, she has a heavy drug and heavy alcohol addiction, and it's a big problem for her. So she kind of makes some bad decisions, decides right before she's going to sign up for the trial to go and see the life that she would have had. And she runs into the Duster baby that is being raised by her Ember mother, who is a horrible woman, and some unfortunate things happen where she is not able to sign up for the trial and instead has to help the Duster girl, Anur, in the trial trying to win. So it is about the two of them working together, not fully trusting each other. Anur is very not skilled, and so her mother has not appreciated her at all in her life. So she is basically blackmailing Sela into helping her, and Sela is getting some help learning the magic of the world, which only Embers can do. But since she was raised by Dusters, she was never able to be educated in it, and so she needs to be educated in this in order to help her Duster family survive what's about to come. So she needs the education. She needs to keep Anur in the trial as long as possible so that she can have more and more time training with her in order to get this blood magic education that she needs. I'm really loving it also. I think it's going to be a 5-star, but I'm only 50%, so we're going to see. I think the characters are so well developed and so well rounded, and the mix of having someone from like a lower society pretending to be like in this royal-esque court, and then also having the two girls who are definitely going through an enemies to lovers kind of relationship because they hate each other, but they are falling for each other so hard. And then also having a trial is like, I think, the perfect blend for a book that I'm going to love. But for now, I'm going to go fold my laundry, and then I'm going to sit and read for a bit. So why don't you join me? Morning. It's Monday morning, and I wanted to come and talk to you before I leave for work because I finished When Villains Rise yesterday and I loved it, and I just want to say like a few things before I go to work and then start something and am halfway through that and then only want to talk about that later. So I did finish it. I rated it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, which when I look back is what I rated book 2. I rated book 1 5 stars. Heavily enjoyed it. I think I didn't like it as much as book 1 and 2. I feel like the plot wasn't as eventful as the first few, but the character development was so good, and I really like what our author had to say specifically about love and romance and friendship, and how, you know, we're not really trained in our lives to know the difference, and people tell you if you have a friendship that the only way to make it more so is to be in a romance. Like, a romance is like a better friendship, basically, and how that's not true, and how friendship can be such a fulfilling and wonderful and grand thing. So I also really liked that she talked a little bit, she didn't ever say the word asexuality, but she did talk about our two main characters who neither of them really have interest in sex, and how that's kind of affected all of their thoughts about getting into a relationship one day, because they don't want sex, so why would they ever need to be romantic with someone? But just because you don't want sex doesn't mean you can't be romantic with someone. So there was just a lot of really good things that she had to say in this book. And then she also explained the title for the first book, Not Even Bones. It was one of the lines in this book. And I'm really happy that she did that too, because I mean, like, I kind of knew what it was about, but I was good to see it like word for word on the page. And then the ending was actually really good. Like, I definitely would say it leaned towards convenient, but I actually really enjoyed how she executed it, and I think she did a good job with it. And there were moments I was shocked and I was convinced certain things were going to happen, and then they did or didn't. So I had a really fun time reading that book, and I do highly recommend. Up next, I yesterday had enough time and I was still like painting, so I needed an audiobook. I decided to pick up the Stardust Thief. I got the audio arc from the publisher, but they sent it to me like after the book had been published, so I'm working my way through it now, and I'm really not enjoying it. It's supposed to be an adult fantasy, but it really reads YA to me, and it reads super tropey. It's basically about this girl who has the ability to find any item, and she has like a djinn sidekick, and she gets forced by the sultan of the land to go off and find this lamp that holds this genie that is supposed to be like one of the most powerful genies ever, and it's kind of a myth, but they think it's real, and she has to go off with one of his princes to find it. Now the princes swap faces through magic, so the mean one basically stays home to try to take over the kingdom, and the nice one goes with her, but she thinks she's with the mean one. I don't know, I'm just like, nothing about it has spoken to me yet. The characters don't feel like super great or super well thought out or super well fleshed out. I think it's a debut, but I'd have to double check on that. Plot just feels weirdly paced, and I'm 40% through, so I'm kind of like, maybe I should just finish it, but I'm also like, why am I pushing through? But also like, it's not bad, it's just not great. So I'm struggling. And I decided, because I was struggling, because I made so much progress on it yesterday, and my loan from my library is due back, I decided to start Best Served Cold this morning. So that's what I'm going to be listening to today, but on my lunch break, I'm going to stop and read The Final Strife, because I am 62% through, and I'd like to get done the first half of this week so I can start most likely in A Garden Burning Gold, because that is part of my TBR-opoly. Best Served Cold, I'm gonna have lots of things to say about it, I think, later. I don't think I'm gonna like this one as much as the other ones, and I think a lot of that is going to come down to Joe Abercrombie's effectiveness of writing a female protagonist, and main character is not as effective as his ability to write his male characters. She feels kind of flat to me, and because this is a standalone and not a trilogy, you know, she's not getting more than one story, I feel like he felt rushed to get everything that we need to know about her kind of in at the beginning. And I also genuinely feel like she literally could be swapped with a man. Like, her motives and her actions and the way she thinks and talks kind of feels like it's just a man, but like you call it a woman. There are like a few differences. It's not horrible, but I'm just not in love with her. I'm hoping that that changes. I'm only like an hour and a half into it, but basically what's happened is we're following our main character, who's a woman. I cannot remember her name right now. Her name is Manda, and she is a mercenary with her brother, and they are working for this one ruler, and when they bring back such a grand success to him. He thinks that they're going to be able to like take his kingdom away from him because they're doing such a fantastic job. So he tries to kill both of them, effectively kills the brother, doesn't kill our main character, and she ends up so brutally injured that someone finds her like in a death pile and then slowly works her back to life, and now she is claiming revenge on him. One of the things that I will mention right here, right now, is I think this book has incest. Like, it hasn't been said, but the way that our main character talked about and thought about her brother, like there was this one part where she was like, he was family, he was friend, he was everything she had and more. And I was like, I would never speak about my brother that way. Or like when they were about to go into the court to like present their winnings to the king, she like turned to him and was like, I love you. And I was like, yeah, okay, like I've said I love you to my brother, but like, I don't know, it was like the way she said it was weird. And everything like about their interactions is just weird. And I can't pin it down if it's incest or not, but I'm leaning towards it is. Good evening. I found it. I have 2 packages here. I ordered 3 books. 2 are from the same person, from the app that I use where you can order books. You can trade it, Pango. I've talked about it a few times. I figured I would do an unboxing with you all because I'm really not going to be ordering many books over the next few months, to be honest. Part of it's financially because like I'm taking time off of work in order to like pursue my passion and not get burnt out and everything. And so like financially I'm just not in the same spot. But also a large part of it is I like genuinely want to get through my TBR. And so adding books means I cannot do that. Pango is great because I can order books from people, I get them at a discount, and I can use credits for things. So financially I don't have to worry about it. And I legit only buy books on there when there's something that like I desperately want. At one point, what did I add? Oh, I got Once and Future Witches because it was literally a library copy, and I'm obsessed with library copies. This person actually is from Alaska. They messaged me because they just wanted me to know that the package would probably take a little bit longer to deliver than normal. Usually Pango, it's like a few days and you have the package. And I'm totally fine with that because this is actually for a buddy read that I'll be doing not this month and not next month. I don't think we picked a month, but we definitely picked a book. Oh, they wrapped it another time. So that is Into the Drowning Deep by Mia Grant, who is also Shauna McGuire. So I am a little nervous, not gonna lie, about this book, but I know it's like dark mermaids, ocean horror. The ocean is home to many myths and some are deadly. I hope that I love it. I'm just nervous because I have heard that it is a little bit slower, and while I can handle slow horror, if the buildup isn't worth it, then I don't think that the slowness is like effective. I just found a freaking thing on YouTube earlier. YouTube, Living Waters, over 100 million views. Oh, the back of the card, it's one of those freaking like, do you believe in Jesus? I love getting books from Pango simply for the reason that a lot of times people like forget to clean out their books. Oh, that's nice. They left their information. If you want to follow them, they are on Amazon, eBay, and Pango at AK Hamlet Books. I love getting used books simply for the reason of finding what people have left in their books, or like because I'm ordering from human beings and not like consumer stores, fast fashion, whatever you want to call that with books. A lot of times people will like leave little presents on purpose. Like I so many times getting a Pango package, notes from people telling me like what they liked about the book or wishing me a good day. Like it's specific to me because you get the name of the person when you order, or like some people have left me stickers. So it's just super cute. And then I also love seeing what everyone used as bookmarks before me. I'm a little tired. It's been a really long day, guys. This person, I've ordered from them multiple times because they sell books in like sets and they're always reasonable. And they are the second and third book in a series that I'm currently reading. Oh, they're big. They're a lot bigger than I thought they were going to be, which is Chaos Vector and Catalyst Kate. So this is I believe this is 2 and 3 of the, oh my God, I just had it in my head. I can see it in my head so well. It's black with white. It kind of looks like this, but it's black with white, and it has a name. It's a book, Velocity Weapon, which I really, really, really enjoyed. I read it for my Exploring Sci-Fi video that I did on my channel, and it was probably one of my favorites to come out of that video. So I hadn't fully been planning on continuing on with the series just because I really suck at, like, I never want to continue on with series. But she had them, and I'm not gonna lie, I got another bookmark, guys. I'm so excited. Honestly, I'm really tired and really out of it right now, so I'm not gonna even bother talking about my day at all, but tomorrow's gonna be a super weird day at work. It's a photo shoot day, and it's not me doing the photo shoot. I'm like the director of it. I'm not the photographer, which normally I'm both. But normally it's just like me and 2 other people. This time it's gonna be like a full shoot where we hired a team, and it's like a big, big thing. So tomorrow's gonna be super weird, and I'm probably gonna be exhausted, and I'm probably not gonna read anything. I might not talk to you guys again until Thursday, just simply because Wednesday is also kind of always a weird day for me. So I was correct. It is Thursday, which I just had a feeling. I was doing a lot of stuff the past few days. Tuesday I said was the photo shoot, and I got off early, but by the time I got home and I got settled, I was so drained and I had no energy. And then pretty much yesterday I was exhausted also. But it is Thursday and it is after work, which means that it is officially my weekend. I do have some commissions to do tomorrow, so I am going to be pretty busy. It's not going to be like a light day, but I am really excited to get started. And I have so many things to tell you that I had to make a post-it note so I wouldn't forget any of them. So I'm going to stick it right here underneath you so I can just like glance at it and know what we're talking about. First up, I did finish The Final Strife and I really loved it. I'm rating it 5 out of 5 stars. I was a little conflicted to give it a 4.5, but then I thought about like how much I really enjoyed so many moments in the book, and I was like, you know, let's just give it a 5. So reasons why I was like kind of leaning towards a 4.5 was because I felt like the trial wasn't super important to the story, and it wasn't like a large aspect of the book, but it was still there, and when it was happening it was really, really good. And I think that there were just kind of so many things happening in this book that the trial like couldn't take as big of an importance in the story as I wanted it to. And I can say now officially that I've ended the book. It is the first book in a Arab Afric inspired trilogy taking place in this world, and I am so excited to read the next book. Like, I will be continuing on in this series, which is something I don't always say. Even if I love the first book, sometimes I just don't have the need to move on to book 2, but I have enough questions and enough intrigue that I want to know what's going to be happening in the next one. And I believe I've already told you what this is about, but I believe that in book 2 it is going to open up the world even more and even grander. And I loved the author's writing so much. Like, the way she wrote was so beautiful that I will pretty much read anything that she writes at this point, at least right now. We'll see how it keeps going, but it was so smooth and so fluid and done so well, and like lots of beautiful prose, but not like overboard. And it was grand. One thing I haven't mentioned so far about this book though is, yes, it has wonderful representation in the Black community and the Arab community. There's so many characters. I don't even technically think there was a white character, but I might be wrong. I might not have understood everything perfectly, but I don't think there was a single white character. But it also has major disability rep, and it also has major LGBTQ plus rep, where our main character is definitely some type of interested in men and women. I don't know if she's bisexual or if she's pansexual or if she's still figuring things out or if she's none of those and something else completely. It's not specifically said. One of the girls is definitely only into women. One of the girls, it's not really specified, but there are also multiple characters who use they, them pronouns, and also the god that all of the people in this land worship uses they, them pronouns. And then there are also characters who are transgender. I liked it because the representation was there in a positive way, where they weren't questioned, they weren't doubted, they were never like, no wrong pronouns were ever used, no dead names were ever used. And the characters who do identify as a gender that does not match their birth gender were always respected, and everyone was just really great about it. It just felt like the society, while there are lots of issues, this was not one of them. Of course, I need to let you all know, like, huge trigger warnings for slavery, for, I can't think of what it's called when you, like, take people's limbs off of their body, like you pull their limbs off their body. I'm so sorry, I can't remember the word for that right now. Anything that you can kind of think of where someone's body, blood, gore, guts, like that kind of stuff. It's not a huge part of the book, but when it's there, it's there. So I highly recommend you guys checking this one out. I think it comes out in 2 weeks time. Up next, I decided to DNF The Stardust Thief. I made it to 40% and it wasn't bad. It just wasn't for me. And I had put it down a few times and then picked it back up a few more times. And this last time there was just no motivation. When I picked it back up, I was like, wow, I really don't want to be doing this. So I wasn't anymore. I think you'll like it if you're a fan of like YA tropey fantasy. I think you'll really enjoy it, but that right now is just not what's speaking to me. So I am not going to continue reading it. And then I don't know how much I spoke on Best Served Cold. I know I told you all that I started it, but I don't know if I mentioned anything about the story at all. I think I might have mentioned, hopefully I mentioned that I was like super weirded out by the possible incest in the book. I really struggled with this one. I love Joe Abercrombie's 3 other books, the Blade Itself series. I thought they were so amazing. And I was struggling from the beginning in Best Served Cold. And so I think what it kind of boiled down to was his main character, the woman, I can't think of her name at this moment, but she wasn't really great. And I wish I could remember what I said to you guys the other day, but she really did feel like she wasn't really a woman. Like it felt like she was a man who was written as a woman. Like you could swap out her name and her gender and no one would notice. I was really struggling with that, and then I was really struggling with the incest. And so I decided to Google to see whether or not the incest was real. Like, was I looking into it too much? Was it something that maybe comes up later? Like, what is up with this? And everything that I found online about it, which was very easy to find, talked about how it's left open to interpretation by the reader on purpose so that you can kind of like make the decision yourself. And after reading that, I don't think I'm going to continue on with this book. I'm definitely going to read other Joe Abercrombie books. I'm definitely going to give, I have 3 of the books. I can't remember what series it is, but his 3 newest ones, and I'm going to be reading them, and I'm very excited about that. But I think I'm kind of leaning against reading fantasy books written by white male authors who are writing where their main protagonist is a female. Like, I'm a little bit done with reading those. Like, this isn't the first time that this has happened. So when I was reading Brian Staveley's first trilogy, which is the Unhewn Throne series, I loved it. It's multiple POVs, so you do get some female representation in there, just like The Blade itself, but it's mostly focused on like a vast majority of characters are male who are the main POVs. And then I went to read his Skullsworn series and I hated it. I hated it so much. And the Skullsworn series is, first off, it's first person perspective, which is kind of why I thought I was hating it. And then second, it's a woman. He's talking about a woman, and I just struggled so much with that, and I DNF'd that book. So I feel like with Best Served Cold, it's kind of a similar thing where I really loved all of these other books, multiple POVs, grand world, lots of things happening. But when you narrow down on just one woman, and it wasn't just one woman, Best Served Cold has, I think, 3 POVs in it, but the main focus is this woman, and I didn't like anything that Joe Abercrombie had to say about her or how he wrote her. And the incest. Like, I don't know how many times I need to tell fantasy authors I don't want to read about incest before they're going to hear it. And saying all of this, it's really funny because today, I wasn't going to talk about it, but today I actually picked up Brian Staveley's newest book, The Empire's Ruin, which is the Ashes of the Unhewn Throne. So it's the series that takes place after the first series, and the first main POV is a woman, and I think she's going to be our main POV through most of the book, and I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. I'm not going to talk about it this week other than that. I'm struggling with this idea a lot that, like, I don't know, maybe like I should stop trusting certain authors to write the opposite gender or the other gender or other genders besides their own, but maybe I should trust them. Maybe it's just a matter of like I need to give books a chance, and like if they don't work for me, it's fine. I just quit. I don't need to have every single book work for me. I'm also going to officially call it as of right now that Best Served Cold is a soft DNF. I haven't read any of it since whenever I spoke to you last, which I think was Tuesday morning. I am very on the fence about DNFing it. Like, if I finish it, I don't think I will rate it high. If I DNF it now, I don't know if it'll be forever. I did like return it at my library because someone was waiting, and then I put myself back on hold, so I'll get it in 2 weeks time. So what I'm kind of thinking is I'm going to be finishing up The Empire's Ruin, and then when I'm done with that, hopefully I'll be in the mood still for a high epic fantasy, and I can give Best Served Cold another shot. And then up next, I picked up The Between by Ryan Leslie. So this was a book that I am buddy reading this month. It made it on TBR-opoly. After me picking up this book and then The Empire's Ruin, I only have one more book that I need to pick up for TBR-opoly this month. So I might be having some extra rolls for you guys because it is officially the 9th, and I just need to start one more book before it's like I'm done with TBR-opoly. I would like to finish maybe some of these, so I'm probably going to finish up The Between and then start the next one, which is In a Garden Bird and Gold. I've started this book, and it's a book. It's functioning as words on a paper. I'm not in love with it. I don't hate it. I just think that the author isn't doing everything as effective as I would like. So it is the story of these two best friends. One of them, who is Paul, finds this door in his backyard, and when he shows his best friend Jay, they are adult men, Jay like peer pressures him into going through the door, and so they climb down this ladder and they find this like weird room, and after they're done investigating, they go to return to up the ladder, and the ladder has disappeared and the door has disappeared, and then they start to notice that there are other doors in the room, and so they start investigating and going through all of the doors, and they're stuck in this in between is what it's called, the between, and it's kind of like, I don't even want to spoil it for you all, but like I feel like it's kind of obvious from the title. It's this world in between worlds. And so they're kind of stuck in it, and they're investigating things, and it seems to be filled with all of these different rooms that are kind of identical to each other, but also every once in a while they come across a room that is different. I think I would be a lot more into it if the author didn't keep taking us out of the story. So things I can compare this to, weirdly enough, I'm going to say House of Leaves. I hated House of Leaves, and I saw someone online compare this book to that one, and I was like really nervous to pick this up because I really hated House of Leaves. Like, it is one of my least favorite books of all time. So I was nervous to pick this up, but I decided to do it anyways, and this book is taking some of the things I actually liked from House of Leaves and is doing that, so I don't necessarily mind the comparison. But what I'm not liking, like I said, is the author is taking us away from the story way too often. We're constantly seeing these flashbacks from our main character Paul into his past, about like when him and Jay met and became best friends, when he fell into a well when he was a small child, when he met his wife, when him and Jay like watched the hockey game, and it's just constant. And even was happening like before they went through the door, where there would be paragraphs of information of like, he would like turn around and see his wife at a distance, and he would give us like 3 paragraphs of like how beautiful his wife is, and I'm like, when you're talking about this weird creepy door over there, I don't necessarily need you to stop and talk about how pretty your wife is. I need you to go and investigate the door right now. So it's just constant. The author's not bad at writing. It's just the way he paces and the way he interrupts, like the flow of the story is constantly like frustrating me and annoying me. So I've gotten to the point, I am 30% through the book right now, where I am like starting to skim read whenever he like does a flashback or does a story that isn't part of the main story, because the main story is not horrible. I will say there were some effective moments where like I was kind of scared. Like I definitely wasn't like, whoo, scared, but like, ooh, that's kind of like interesting there. It's been far and few in between. Hi, welcome to the end of day Friday. It's almost 7 o'clock. It is storming out still, so I don't have a ton of light, but I can't believe how light it actually is out. So I am like super in the mood to sit and physically read for a little bit. I'm not in the mood to read the between, so I am just going to not do that this moment. So I'm sitting here in my TBR closet, and I'm going to pick out a couple of books that I think I'd like to read and try a few of them out and figure out what I'm going to be reading with you all next week. So first up, I have Plain Bad Heroines. I have officially started it. I think I'm like 30 pages in. I really don't think this is what I'm in the mood for right now, but I want to read a couple of pages. I'm like in the middle of a chapter, so maybe like finish the chapter I'm in. And then I'd like to try maybe a chapter of In a Garden Burning Gold, because this is the last book that I need to read for TBR-opoly. And this is fantasy, so I think I'm more in the mood for fantasy at the moment. The other book I was going to try was going to be Hex, but I just don't think I want anything horror right now. At my next list, some of these I have to save for book club or buddy reads, so I cannot touch them. The Sunderlands, I'm really on the fence about this bad boy, to be honest. And I think I'm gonna try The Nature of Witches. I don't think it's gonna be a winner, but we never know. So that means I want to pick like one from over here. What am I feeling? I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of in a fantasy mood, but I did just DNF Best Served Cold, so I don't think I'm going to pick up Joe Abercrombie. I don't think I want historical fiction. I don't think I want sci-fi. I could pick up The City of Dusk, or I could pick up She Who Rides the Storm. Honestly, both of those don't sound too bad. So I have technically read the first chapter of this already. I know kind of what I'm getting into, so I guess I'll throw that on the list, and I'll throw this on the list just for fun. That's what my stack looks like. I'm gonna go sit and try some chapters real quick. So I've got a YA fantasy, an adult fantasy, a contemporary fantasy, a dark fantasy, a standalone, no, it's a duology fantasy, and a horror. This will probably take me a while, and I haven't had dinner yet, so get ready for some time lapses. I actually really enjoyed that chapter. I didn't actually finish the chapter because it's very, very long, but I read like 10 pages, and never mind, I might be in the mood for this. I decided, instead of reading an entire chapter of the rest of the books, since I was vibing with Plain Bad Heroines, I was only going to read a page or two. Some of them I did continue on and read a whole chapter, but most of them I read a page or two, because I was basically trying to decide, okay, are these actually books that I want to keep on my TBR? Like, I'm really interested in them now, but I've never tried them out, so might as well take the chance. Yes, I will be continuing on with Plain Bad Heroines. I'm really excited to pick it up and actually make a dent into it, and I can say that I am very excited about these 4 books, and I will be keeping them on my TBR, and I will be very excited to read them, and they'll probably be the next few books that you see me reading. This I will probably pick up after Plain Bad Heroines, because I need to read it this month, and Glow is coming on the 22nd, so I have 12 days, and yeah, I think that's like plenty of time for me to read Plain Bad Heroines and In a Garden Burning Gold. Probably be putting these 3 somewhere on my July or August TBR. I already have a few books that I'd really like to get to in July, so they might not make it until August, but they were good, and I really liked the introduction that I read in them. For the last one, The Sunderlands, I think I'm gonna unhaul. I read 6 pages of this, and I really did not vibe with the writing style, and I feel like I have not enjoyed fantasy romance enough recently, and by recently I mean like in the past year. Really enjoyed ACOTAR, and then I really enjoyed the Plated Prisoner series, and I will be continuing on in those 2, and I don't think I will like be giving many more another shot. This also has a 3.4 on Goodreads. Like, I'm gonna hopefully give it to someone who can enjoy it more than I am by just keeping it on my shelf. I really honestly need to do that with all of my books, just like read the first page and be like, if the first page is absolutely horrible, I should unhaul it. But I have too many books over there for me to want to do that, and I know what will happen is I'll get really into one of them like 3 books in, and then that's all I'm gonna want to read, and I'll quit doing what I'm doing. I hope you enjoyed this reading vlog. It's been a weird week, my dudes, but next week hopefully will be more normal. I don't know. I hope you're doing well. Let me know down below what you're currently reading. I'd love to know and talk about it. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye.